History moves in cycles, yet too often we mistake the present for permanence. Nations rise and fall, empires dominate and then recede, yet many remain blind to the forces that shape these tides. Ray Dalio, in The Changing World Order, unravels the patterns of history and the economic, political, and social forces that determine the fate of countries and civilizations. His central premise is both sobering and empowering. By understanding these cycles, we can anticipate change, mitigate risk, and position ourselves to thrive amidst uncertainty. History repeats, but not always in the same way, as the ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus once suggested, and those who fail to learn from it are condemned to repeat its mistakes. If you love powerful, insightful, and life-changing books, then you've found the right channel. Every week, we break down the ideas that transform mindsets, elevate success, and shift lives. So don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because you'll want to catch every book we review. Let's continue. Dalio begins by examining the rise and decline of great powers, drawing parallels between the Dutch, British, and American empires. He observes that nations ascend when they have strong leadership, robust education, innovation, sound finances, and a productive workforce. Lessons emerge immediately. Building a strong foundation is non-negotiable. Consider the American rise in the 20th century. Innovation fueled by the Industrial Revolution, combined with a strong legal system and global trade dominance, allowed the U.S. to lead the world economically, militarily, and culturally. Similarly, post-independence India leveraged its intellectual capital and democratic institutions to become an emerging economic powerhouse in the 21st century. From a motivational perspective, Dalio implicitly teaches that individuals, organizations, and nations alike must invest in their strengths early, laying groundwork for long-term resilience. Yet, rising powers eventually confront pressures that test their internal cohesion and external competitiveness. Dalio points to debt cycles, wealth inequality, internal conflict, and external rivalry as recurrent stressors that precipitate decline. Here lies a critical lesson. Unchecked internal weaknesses erode even the strongest positions. This is vividly illustrated in the decline of the British Empire. Despite dominating global trade for centuries, Britain's heavy debt after the World Wars, combined with overextension of military power and rising domestic unrest, accelerated its relative decline. In contemporary terms, America's ballooning national debt, social polarization, and shifting geopolitical influence provide a cautionary example of the same principle. Globally, China faces different challenges. High debt levels, demographic shifts, and potential political unrest all test its ability to sustain growth and global influence. The lesson resonates on a personal level too. Individuals who ignore their financial health, mental well-being, or personal relationships often find that success is fleeting when stressors compound. Dalio also emphasizes the importance of understanding long-term debt cycles and economic fundamentals. He illustrates that periods of high debt accumulation often precede economic contractions even in the strongest nations. For instance, the 2008 financial crisis emerged from excessive leverage in housing and banking sectors, highlighting that short-term prosperity without structural stability can lead to catastrophic collapse. In today's context, both developed and emerging markets face unprecedented debt pressures, signaling the need for prudence, planning, and adaptability. Motivationally, this insight teaches individuals and organizations alike that building sustainable systems and avoiding overextension, financial, mental, or operational, is a path to enduring success. Another key lesson flows from Dalio's discussion of internal and external order. Great nations thrive not only by accumulating wealth, but by maintaining social cohesion, effective governance, and strategic alliances. When internal cohesion weakens, civil unrest often follows. When external threats grow, empires must choose between negotiation and confrontation. For example, during the Cold War, America's internal unity, economic innovation, and strong alliances allowed it to counter Soviet influence. By contrast, the Roman Empire struggled with internal corruption and military overextension, leading to a slow but inexorable decline. In the modern world, political polarization in Western democracies, combined with external competition from rising powers, demonstrates that both domestic and international stability are intertwined. For individuals, this principle mirrors the importance of balancing personal discipline with social support systems. Isolation and fragmentation, whether in thought or action, lead to vulnerability.
A striking insight Dalio offers is that emotional and psychological factors are central to both rise and decline. Confidence, trust, and perception shape financial markets, national policies, and individual decisions. When confidence erodes through political instability, social unrest, or economic uncertainty, decline accelerates. This aligns with the philosophical reflection of Seneca. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor. In a modern context, the 2008 financial crisis was exacerbated by overconfidence and herd behavior in markets. On the national level, public trust in institutions can either fortify resilience or accelerate vulnerability. Individuals experience the same. Overconfidence without reflection often leads to poor decisions, while mindful assessment enables sustainable growth and adaptability. Finally, Dalio's work illuminates the cyclical nature of history and the inevitability of change. No nation or individual remains at the top indefinitely. Vigilance, humility, and strategic thinking are required to navigate transitions successfully. The rise of China, the relative decline of the US, economic shifts in Europe, and emerging markets in Africa all demonstrate that understanding trends, learning from history, and acting proactively can shape one's future rather than leaving it to chance. From a motivational standpoint, this reinforces the value of foresight, learning, and disciplined action. Success is not permanent, but preparedness, adaptability, and resilience allow us to thrive even as the world changes around us. As we move deeper into Dalio's analysis, the interplay between internal strength and external pressures becomes even more apparent. Dalio emphasizes that the trajectory of nations, and by extension organizations and individuals, is shaped not just by wealth, but by the ability to balance internal stability with external competitiveness. This dual focus is timeless. The Dutch Empire thrived because it invested in trade, military defense, and social cohesion. The British Empire sustained global dominance by creating robust financial systems and education infrastructure, even as it faced external rivals like France and Germany. Today, America and China exemplify this principle. The US leverages innovation, global influence, and strong institutions, while China balances rapid economic growth with centralized political control and strategic geopolitical expansion. The lesson is universal. Success is not merely the accumulation of resources, but the capacity to harmonize internal order with external engagement. Dalio introduces the three pillars of national power: economics, military strength, and political influence. He shows that nations that dominate these pillars rise, while neglecting any one invites decline. Consider America's experience in the 20th century. Economic dominance allowed technological innovation, military strength secured geopolitical influence, and political cohesion, despite occasional turbulence, enabled sustained global leadership. In contrast, the Ottoman Empire illustrates the consequences of neglect. Military overextension, economic stagnation, and fragmented political authority led to centuries of decline. On an individual level, this translates to balancing skill development, strategic action, and personal integrity. A talented individual who neglects health, emotional intelligence, or social networks may see their personal power diminish despite initial success. One of Dalio's most insightful concepts is the long-term debt cycle. He illustrates that nations, like individuals, often rely on borrowing to fund growth. This creates short-term expansion but sows the seeds of long-term stress. The US, during the post-World War II period, effectively leveraged debt for growth, investing in infrastructure, education, and technology. However, today's escalating national debt, alongside social spending pressures and geopolitical commitments, mirrors historical cycles where overextension preceded decline, as in the case of Spain in the 15th century. Dalio's lesson here is profound. Financial prudence and foresight are essential to sustainable success, whether for countries, businesses, or personal finances. Overconfidence and deferred reckoning inevitably lead to correction, sometimes sudden and severe. Dalio also delves into wealth and income inequality, highlighting its role in both empowering and destabilizing nations. Excessive inequality breeds social unrest, erodes trust, and undermines long-term stability. For instance, the French Revolution illustrates how extreme wealth disparity triggered political upheaval. In contemporary America, the widening gap between the ultra-wealthy and the working class poses risks to social cohesion and political stability, mirrored globally in countries like Brazil and South Africa. Dalio's implicit guidance is that equitable systems foster enduring strength. On a personal level, this teaches that collaboration, mentorship, and ethical success not only enrich others but reinforce one's own sustainable influence and impact.
Dalio further explores geopolitical tension and strategic competition, highlighting that rising powers often challenge established ones, leading to friction and potential conflict. The US-China dynamic exemplifies this. Trade disputes, technological rivalry, and military posturing are natural outcomes of shifting world order. Historically, the transition from Dutch to British dominance and from British to American hegemony followed similar patterns of tension, competition, and eventual adjustment. The lesson extends beyond nations. Competition is a natural part of growth, and navigating it with strategy, patience, and intelligence ensures survival and advancement. For individuals and organizations, this means cultivating situational awareness, anticipating challenges, and responding proactively rather than reactively. Dalio stresses that leadership and decision-making quality often determine the success or failure of nations during transitional periods. Leaders who act with clarity, courage, and long-term vision can guide societies through turbulent shifts. Poor leadership accelerates decline. Consider FDR's leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, which positioned the U.S. for long-term dominance compared to leaders in failing states whose short-term thinking exacerbated instability. For personal application, this underscores the power of strategic foresight, ethical decision-making, and disciplined action in shaping outcomes that extend beyond immediate circumstances. A philosophical thread runs through Dalio's analysis. The inevitability of change requires humility. As Heraclitus suggested, the only constant in life is change. Dalio illustrates that resisting historical patterns, denying debt cycles, ignoring social inequality, or misjudging emerging powers invites failure. Conversely, recognizing patterns, learning from history, and aligning strategy with reality creates opportunity and resilience. For individuals, this is a call to embrace adaptability, reflective practice, and continuous learning, ensuring that when the world shifts, one is not a passive observer, but an empowered navigator. Finally, Dalio examines the psychological factors driving national and personal decisions, highlighting that emotions, biases, and perceptions shape outcomes as much as objective conditions. Overconfidence, fear, and herd behavior often exacerbate financial bubbles, political instability, and social unrest. The 2008 financial crisis serves as a stark reminder of how collective misperception and emotional excess can amplify systemic risk. Translating this lesson personally, self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and reflective decision-making are crucial to navigating uncertainty, managing risk, and seizing opportunity.
As we arrive at the concluding insights of Dalio's work, the emphasis shifts from diagnosis to actionable strategies for thriving amid global change. The central lesson resonates universally. While no individual or nation can halt the cycles of history, understanding the forces at play enables preparation, resilience, and strategic advantage. Dalio reminds us that knowledge without application is incomplete. Philosophically, this aligns with Confucius: study the past if you would define the future. One of the most important lessons is the power of proactive adaptation. Dalio shows that nations that successfully navigated transitions, like the United States post-World War II or Japan after World War II, did so by recognizing early warning signs, investing in education, infrastructure, and innovation, and strategically rebalancing domestic and international policies. For individuals, this translates into continual self-assessment and recalibration. In today's digital age, professionals who embrace lifelong learning, pivot careers in response to market changes, and adopt emerging technologies gain a competitive edge, while those who cling to outdated methods risk stagnation. Dalio also stresses the importance of building strong systems to withstand shocks. Just as financial, political, and social systems determine a nation's resilience, personal and organizational systems, routines, finances, relationships, and mental frameworks shape long-term stability. Consider South Korea's meticulous investment in infrastructure, education, and technological innovation, which propelled it from post-war devastation to global competitiveness within decades. On a personal scale, establishing disciplined habits, financial buffers, and strong networks ensures that individuals can weather professional setbacks, health crises, or social turbulence. The lesson is clear: strengthen your foundations before you need them.
Another critical theme is navigating competition intelligently. Dalio's analysis of rising and declining powers underscores that rivalry is inevitable, whether between nations, companies, or individuals. Success lies in anticipation, strategic positioning, and leveraging strengths, rather than reacting impulsively. The US-China dynamic exemplifies this. Both nations strategically compete in trade, technology, and influence, yet each leverages its unique advantages. America's innovation and global alliances, China's manufacturing and centralized governance. On a personal level, understanding your competitive landscape and honing your unique skills ensures sustained relevance and impact. Complacency or reactive strategies often lead to decline, just as historical empires faltered when they underestimated emerging rivals. Dalio also emphasizes the necessity of humility and self-awareness. No matter how dominant a nation or individual may appear, arrogance and denial accelerate decline. History provides countless examples. The overconfidence of the Spanish Empire in the 16th century, the British complacency before World War II, and financial institutions during the 2008 crisis all illustrate the dangers of ignoring reality. Today, global leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals who acknowledge limitations, seek diverse perspectives, and question assumptions are far more likely to navigate uncertainty successfully. Philosophically, this echoes Marcus Aurelius. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. By facing challenges realistically, opportunities emerge. Dalio's exploration of debt and financial cycles concludes with a motivational lesson. Both nations and individuals must understand the limits of leverage. Excessive borrowing can accelerate growth temporarily, but carries immense long-term risk. The U.S. housing bubble of 2008, European sovereign debt crises, and corporate bankruptcies all exemplify the consequences of mismanaged debt. On an individual level, prudent financial management, strategic investment, and avoidance of over-leveraging provide security, freedom, and opportunity. Dalio's broader message is that discipline and foresight in resource management are essential to thrive during turbulent cycles. Finally, Dalio synthesizes his lessons into a universal truth. Success is cyclical, but preparation, adaptability, and strategic action create opportunity within cycles. Nations rise and fall, economies expand and contract, and markets fluctuate. But those who understand patterns, act with foresight, and cultivate resilience can not only survive, but flourish. Globally, nations like Germany, South Korea, and Singapore demonstrate this principle in practice. Personally, individuals who embrace learning, adaptability, and ethical action do the same. Dalio's work motivates readers to view change not as a threat, but as an arena for strategic growth and empowerment. In practical terms, his insights offer actionable guidance for both nations and individuals. Invest in education and innovation. Knowledge drives sustainable advantage. Maintain social cohesion and trust. Relationships and integrity amplify resilience. Monitor debt and financial health. Prudence today prevents crises tomorrow. Anticipate competition. Understand rivals, leverage unique strengths, and adapt strategically. Foster adaptability and humility. Continuous learning and self-awareness transform challenges into opportunities. Dalio's The Changing World Order is not merely a chronicle of historical patterns. It is a guide for action, a blueprint for resilience, and a motivational call to engage with history intelligently. The ultimate lesson is clear. While no one controls the tides of global change, understanding them, preparing thoughtfully, and acting strategically allows us to navigate the currents of history, harness opportunity, and create enduring success. If this message resonated with you, subscribe and join us for more wisdom that fuels growth.